It's the final table bubble, but more importantly, it's the money bubble. Remember, the next player eliminated leaves with nothing.
Why is it the two biggest stacks can never just stay out of each other's way?
All in.
And Shaq shoves!
OMG suicide.
I call.
Vanessa calls! Dan Shaq is at risk of bubbling.
Of course, it was a great risk.
We shouldn't have been playing that big a pot at that stage of the tournament.
He can hit a club or a 10 on the river. It's a 10!
Whoa, that was not supposed to happen.
I just lost like 2 million chips.
Vanessa's a better player than I am. You know, I still have the confidence that I can win on any given day.
Dan Shaq doubles up and takes the chip lead from Vanessa Selbst. Welcome to the Bahamas for the climax of one of the most extraordinary super high rollers we've ever seen. Dan Shaq took a huge risk on the bubble, which ultimately paid off, as he took a big chunk of Vanessa Selbst's chips. Then Fabian Quass eliminated Mike McDonald and Paul Newey on the last hand of the night. So the PokerStars.com PCA Super High Roller is down to 7, with a $1.6 million first prize on the line. And Vanessa Selbst is looking to make history by becoming the first woman to win a big buy-in event. It's the first final table of 2014, and unusually, it's a 7-handed final table due to the double bust out on the bubble.
We may be short on players, but we ain't short on talent. We've got the highest earning male and female tournament players of all time.
Plus, we've got a couple of German high rollers.
Standard. I think 2 of those chairs permanently have towels on them.
And kudos to Dan Shaq. This is his 3rd consecutive PCA Super High Roller final. Dan Shaq is not your average recreational player. He's stacked up nearly $6 million in live tournament winnings, and he's a veteran on this stage.
If it goes the way it looks like it's going to go, we could get 4-handed pretty quickly, and then you shoot for the title. You know, I've come up short 2 years in a row, so the title would be nice.
Vanessa Selbst is the #1 female tournament player in the world with earnings of more than $8 million. Last year, she won the PCA High Roller. Now she wants the Super Trophy to go with it.
I always feel like when I'm at a final table, I'm in a position to take it down. So yeah, especially coming in with my chip stack and the way the table is set up, I think I'm in a really good spot to win.
Antonio Esfandiari is at the top of the all-time money list, thanks to his victory in the inaugural one-drop tournament. Today, he's guaranteed more than $250,000.
I bubbled this event last year, and that hurt a lot. So to be here, to be in the money, to come into the final table with 3rd in chips feels great.
Fabian Quass has $3 million in career earnings and is regarded as one of the toughest players on the circuit. The German certainly doesn't lack belief.
This is what I'm best at, playing poker tournaments. I think I can compete with everyone on the final table, and I'm confident in my game.
Then there are the short stacks. Matt Glantz, who won the EPT London High Roller in 2009. Tony Gregg, the only player to have made 2 PCA main event finals. And Ola Shemian, the 2013 GPI Player of the Year. Well, with 3 major short stacks, this has the potential to be a frenetic final table.
Bubble play went on so long that a lot of these stacks are shallower than half the women on the yachts outside. And all of the men.
Blinds are 30,000, 60,000 with a 10,000 ante. Actions on Ola Shemian.
Easy living.
King 4 of diamonds. And he's all in from under the gun.
King 4 suited is definitely better than some of the hands he should be shoving in that spot.
Ace 9 for the equally short stack Tony Gregg.
Tony's probably well aware, so my guess is he's going to be all in too. Easy living, yes. Worst case scenario, you go broke here and win $250,000.
Gregory shoves.
Hello.
Very expressive crowd today.
Hello.
Yes, Matt, we see you.
Can I ask for a better situation?
10s for Fabian Quass.
Fabian's never folding here, especially knowing he could quaz 2 players to bust.
I call.
He calls.
Allah's like, yeah, triple up.
Vanessa Selbst in the small blind. Folds. Dan Shack in the big blind.
Made it very easy.
Also passes.
Fabian's got half the equity 3 ways. If 10s hold, it will cost both Ola and Tony their tournament lives.
Greg would go out and sick for a bit more money as he's got more chips.
I'm trying my best.
Wonder who the German rail is pulling for. Probably not the Austrian flag.
2 fours.
Queen deuce deuce. 10's holding.
Ein Karo.
1 diamond.
Quast now with a full house.
Over. Yeah. Ja, Dame ist gut. Queen.
Queen's a chop.
The river card is a 9. Quast sends another 2 players to the rail.
Yeah, good game. Yeah, good game, us.
Nice playing with you.
Hey, good playing.
Yeah,
Tony,
you too.
good game.
Shumming out in 7th, Greg in 6th, but more importantly, everyone who didn't go broke just laddered up 2 more spots and $230,000 more dollars.
Fabian Quast is now 3rd in chips with 5 players remaining.
He's a hero, like Quasimodo.
It's the end of the road for Shemian and Greg. And everyone is now locked up $445,000. But who's going to win that first prize of $1.6 million?
If I had to pick anyone, I would probably pick Vanessa. I played with her all day, day one, and like 90% of the day yesterday, and I think she's just playing extremely well, so I think it's her tournament to win.
Vanessa's super motivated. She ran out of hair gel this morning, has to finish 2nd or better to afford to buy it from the gift shop.
Blinds are up to 40,000, 80,000, and he stays at 10,000. Ace-7 for Antonio Esfandiari. He raises under the gun to 160k. Jack-10 for Matt Glantz in the cutoff, and he is all in.
How much is it?
320.
Really don't see what choice Matt had there with 4 big blinds. He's just hoping to be live.
Vanessa's got Ace-Jack.
He's not live. Vanessa may choose to isolate here, but with an under-the-gun raise from Esfandiari, she might be afraid he's actually got it.
She does re-raise. A 4-bet to 605,000.
What'd you have? Ace-7.
Shaq and Esfandiari both fold. Matt Glantz finds himself at risk and way behind.
Domination Nation.
Ace-high still ahead. Matt Glantz looking for a 10.
Nice job squeezing Antonio out. Now it's Matt Glantz with 3 outs instead of her.
7 on the turn.
I had the old Ace-7.
See, even the pros do it.
3 outs for Glantz.
Good game, Matt.
Good luck, guys. Pleasure.
He is eliminated in 5th place, collecting $455,520.
Jeez, we are cutting through this final table like a lightsaber through a tauntaun. Speaking of which, Matt probably wants to crawl inside one of those and go to sleep right now.
Vanessa Selbst has reclaimed the chip lead, playing nearly 4.4 million. It's actually reasonably even right now. Crucially, no one is in the danger zone.
Danger zone!
But Antonio Esfandiari does have the shortest stack with 32 big blinds.
Yep.
Action's been folded to Vanessa on the button. Ace-King suited.
If Vanessa keeps picking up hands, she's going to be more impossible to beat than Contra without the 30 lives cheat. Up, up, down, down, raise.
160,000. Dan Shack mucking 9-4 from the small blind. Ace-5 suited for Antonio in the big blind. And he calls.
Me and the Selbst, huh?
Vanessa won't be swayed by the magician's misdirection.
It's all spades, and Antonio flops best, middle pair. He checks. No continuation bet from Vanessa. She checks behind.
Both playing pretty standard so far.
9 of clubs on the turn. Antonio now a 93% favorite.
He can either check call here or bet to try to get value out of ace highs and protect his hand.
He elects to lead for 180,000.
Man, it would have been awesome if when he did that a pigeon flew out of his sleeve.
Vanessa is raising. She makes it 490,000.
Oh, I forgot that might be a reason why you might not bet. Stupid, stupid, stupid. It's actually not repping much besides a slow played flush or a turn set of nines or two pair or something. Doing this every once in a while with nothing is a pretty good way to balance your range, though, and it's probably a better move than just calling with what she actually has.
Antonio folds the best hand.
She put the magician in the box, and he could not vomit up the key.
Nice bluff, Vanessa.
Thank you.
Nice hedge, Antonio. Selbst continues to be the one to watch in this tournament. And speaking of watches, where did mine go, Antonio?
Vanessa Selbst asserts her authority and extends her chip lead at the final table of the PCA Super High Roller. Paradise Island is one of the most romantic hotspots in the Caribbean. But inside the Atlantis Resort and Casino, there's one player not feeling the love at the final table of the PokerStars.com PCA Super High Roller. Antonio Esfandiari now finds himself bottom of the pack with 4 players remaining.
Oh, his name is Antonio Esfandiari, not Antonio Esfandiari. I just now got that. Are you sure the S doesn't stand for short stack?
Blinds are still 40-80 with a 10k ante. Ace-king for Vanessa Selbst, the chip leader, on the button.
Vanessa's running better than Carl Lewis. 9-time Olympic gold medalist for running and long jumping.
She raises to 160,000. Dan Shack folds the small blind. Antonio Esfandiari has 9s in the big blind.
You can 3-bet or call here. You can call to play a smaller pot for laddering up considerations, but if you 3-bet and then get 4-bet, you cannot fold.
He does re-raise. The 3-bet is 430,000.
Well, kids, this is all going in.
Vanessa, set to respond with a 4-bet. That's 780,000.
I'm all in.
Antonio shoves.
Call.
And Vanessa calls. It's a race.
And it's a huge one.
4.8 million in the middle.
9s against ace king.
So over ace king.
Hates it now.
I hate ace king.
Like Gannon versus Mother Brain, one of these two bosses has a slight mathematical advantage.
It's Antonio's tournament life that's on the line.
Don't make Amal jealous.
Feel good, okay? Feel good. I can't take it. What am I just can't take it.
It's all fun and games until an ace hits the flop.
9s are holding, but Vanessa has 10 outs.
Jack, 7. 7 jack.
9 of diamonds.
Antonio's through the worst of it.
I guess I would take it.
Ace on the turn.
Terrible turn.
And it's the ace of diamonds.
Good game, guys.
Not yet.
Antonio left with just 1 out.
Yeah, pretty much good game, guys.
He's gone.
Okay, buddy, play great.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Again, because of that super long final table bubble, things are just shallow here and we end up flipping a lot more.
While Antonio bubbled this event last year, this year he goes out in 4th for more than 575k.
Thought it would go fast, but I never thought this fast.
Big hands.
Vanessa's seen more big hands than a manicurist on Skull Island. The island where they found King Kong. You know what, it's fine.
Vanessa Selbst, the big chip leader with just 3 players remaining, as Antonio Esfandiari heads to the cage to collect his money.
I felt amazing yesterday. I had a lot of chips. I was in total control, and everything was going just perfect. Today, I was card dead until I picked up 9s, got in a flip, and that was that.
Whoa, easy on the soda, Fuller. Rubber sheets are packed.
So here we go, 3-handed action. Blinds 50,000 and 100,000 with a 10,000 ante.
Would either of you two object if I took like a 1-minute bathroom break if I ran?
Would be pretty cruel to object.
Thank you. I'm not young like you guys.
Cruel and gross, and we're all out of sawdust from cleaning up after Hardigan.
Dan, I feel your discomfort.
Well, this hand is probably worth the kidney damage.
Ace 10 of hearts, he raises the button to 225,000. Ace 7 for Quas in the small blind.
You know what they say, a rolling stone gathers no quas, so I don't expect Fabian to just call here.
He re-raises, 3 bets to 600,000. Vanessa's folded, it's back on Shaq. Who 4 bets?
I thought you might fold because you want to go to the bathroom. I was being nice.
Fabian folds.
So I've checked now. Can we? No, just.
Okay, I'm running to the bathroom. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Dan's 4-bet was dicey big and usually just gonna get action from hands that had him crushed. I'm gonna go ahead and blame it on the fact that his back teeth were floating.
Well, Dan's chipped up to the delight of his wife.
So obviously for him, it feels very special. This place brings him luck. I get very nervous, and I don't think it helps. This nervous energy helps Daniel, but today it seems okay. It seems okay.
Thank you very much.
Sure thing, Daniel. So Vanessa, you're not the only one with a hot wife, huh?
You guys still don't want to... Still no?
I'm good, thanks.
I mean, I would agree to an even chop if you guys want to do that. No?
It's cute.
Is it?
No thanks, Dan Shack. We're all good on the chop, Dan Shack.
No deals, Mr. Bond. Ace 10 for Quas on the button. He raises. Pocket 3s for Vanessa Selbst.
3-handed, 3-3, 3-bet.
475k. Shaq's out.
Let's see if Fabian 4-bets with Ace 10 in position. If he does, I will apologize to Dan Shack for accosting him.
Fabian calls. Selbst out of position with the pre-flop betting lead and a set.
I don't see Fabian folding to 1-bet, so this could get costly if he catches up on the turn.
Vanessa continues for 385,000. Quas calls the C-bet.
Even though we know he's crushed, I think Fabian's playing it just fine so far.
The turn card is a jack. Fabian picks up a gut shot.
Things just got dicier than the craps pit.
Vanessa set to bet again. Into a pot of 1.85 million. She makes it 740,000.
The sick part is Vanessa's probably going to double barrel almost all of her hands that didn't connect with the flop, and Fabian knows he can't be drawing dead, so you can't really blame him if he calls here. This is where Vanessa's rep really, really helps her.
He does call. The river card is a 6, so Quas doesn't get there.
All in.
And Vanessa value shoves her set.
It's a pretty quick all-in.
Fabian would make a great TV detective. He'd get more confessions than a Catholic priest. This is kind of a tough spot for Fabian because Vanessa's certainly capable of doing this without much, but Ace 10 is near the bottom of his range, so I think this is going to end up being a fold.
It is a fold. It would have cost him everything he has.
It's just not hard for him to be losing there.
I'll start all over again now.
Fabian way down below average, but this is far from mission impossible.
And Vanessa Selbst firmly in control of this final table, to the delight of her wife, railing her for the 2nd year running.
This year feels redemptive a little bit, like this was her chance to come back and do it, and hopefully she'll be able to see it through and take it down.
Redemptive? She won the high roller here a year ago. 3-handed play continues.
Blind 60,000, 120,000 with a 20,000 ante. Aces for Dan Shack. He raises to 300k. Fabian Quas in the small blind has King Jack.
It is getting chilly in here.
I'm all in.
Fabian shoves.
3-handed, this is a cold enough deck for Quasti the Snowman.
Vanessa with ace 9. Folds.
Call.
Dan Shack calls as a huge favorite.
Fabian is a dog here without question.
There's an 86% chance these terrible puns come to an end soon.
Queen 9-3, all diamonds.
Good luck. Maybe.
What?
Well, there's a jack on the flop. A little bit of hope for Fabian.
It's a start.
Queen of clubs, maybe. Queen of something.
Dude, just ask for a king or a jack.
Queen of hearts?
There's the queen of something.
Queen of quass.
Never easy, huh?
Quass can double up with an ace, jack, or 9 on the river. It's a 9!
Yes. No.
Ace is cracked.
Quass quacks aces?
Yes.
Aces.
And he doubles up through Dan Shack.
Vanessa, 2014. Told ya.
The year of quos. Quos.
Quos.
Quos. Quos. I can't say.
It's pronounced quos?
Yeah, obviously I would be very happy to win a major title in a 6-digit buy-in tournament. I've been in the Caribbean for 2 months now, actually. I feel quite nice here, and I think I managed to get the good vibes into the tournament. I can only try to play my best, and I'm pretty confident I will do so, and the rest is up to the poker gods.
James, check out my bandana and sweater and beard. I'm wearing a Fabian costume.
So even though you've discovered his name isn't actually pronounced that way, you're still going to persist?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, we're going to sweat with Fabian Quass. We'll only see his whole cards on this next hand.
What's a 5-letter word for German high roller? Starts with the letter Q? Just working on this crossword puzzle.
He has 7-4 suited on the button.
Since we can flop a straight with it, technically this is a suited connector, and on the button it's perfectly fine to raise with it 3-handed.
Fabian makes it 240,000. Vanessa folds. Dan Shack in the big blind.
Now, even though Dan's going to be calling pretty wide on the button, I don't think we're going to be ahead very often. Best to proceed with caution.
Shack defends. Quass with the betting lead and in position.
That's us.
And a 4-high flop.
Hey, top pair, let's get it in. Kidding.
Shack checks.
Totally fine with a check behind here. I'm cool to get to showdown already.
8 on the turn.
Well, he's not checking again.
Shack leads for 250,000.
Well, we're not really beating much, but also not much is beating us. Does that make sense?
Quass calls. The river is a 7. 2 pair for Fabian.
Boom. Nice.
And Shack bets again, 325,000.
Kind of a fan of just calling here because I don't see a lot of worse hands being able to call us. But this is where the pros really go for the gusto and the value.
Fabian elects to raise. Makes it 800,000.
I'm all in.
And Shack shoves.
Really?
I guess this is a fold?
Thought you were off tilt.
If I were making a list of players capable of 3-bet bluffing the river, Dan wouldn't even make honorable mention, so I'm afraid this is a fold.
Quass gives up 2 pair, and Dan was bluffing.
Show me the bluff.
Ouch.
1 card.
Turnover 1.
No.
Turnover 1.
Turn over. Gotta be a 5. Nope, 7.
I didn't have 5-6.
I have underestimated this man.
It's true.
Turns out he's an animal.
Something in that neighborhood.
They were picture cards. Pictures of 2 giant cojones.
So Dan Shack back up to over 5 million, but it's Vanessa Selbst who leads. If you want to play in an EPT event, go to PokerStars.com. There are qualifiers every day. We're in the Bahamas, at the business end of the PokerStars.com PCA Super High Roller.
Intensity in 10 cities. Now's when the real poker starts.
3 players remain, with the blind at 80,000, 160,000, with a 20,000 ante. 8-9 suited for Vanessa Selbst, the chip leader.
Whatever double the big blind is. 320.
320,000. Dan Shack folds the small blind. Fabian Quas is in the big blind and has Queen Jack.
With his stack, there is really only one possibility here.
I'm all in.
He shoves.
This is unfortunate for me, but...
If Vanessa calls this, it's going to look crazy, but 9-8 suited isn't doing terribly against a super wide shoving range.
I think I'm going to have to gamble with you.
She calls.
There was an argument for her folding the button outright the first time around, but still, no. And this shove was for fewer than 10 big blinds.
How can you call there, Vanessa? You have 9 high.
I thought you were bluffing.
He knows. He's just fooling.
This is fun, these two hands, because no matter what comes, there's always like a sweat for the other one, you know?
Unless it comes trade deuce.
Trying to persuade the dealer.
Let's see a sweat.
Say it like that.
A lot of outs for Vanessa. 13 of them.
It's a fun flop. 7.
Not at all a safe flop for queen high.
4 on the turn.
That's much better, because if I hit on the turn, and then you could still hit on the river. Much better to hit on the river.
Vanessa needs a jack, 9, 8, or 6. The river card is a queen. Cross doubles up.
Fabian doesn't drown in the river. He hires the Indian to get him a quass.
Nice answer. Let it be known. Call you with 9 high, no problem.
It is known. We have marked it here in the record. Quasi, quasi, quasi. Oi, oi, oi.
Please help me.
Hardigan can't handle getting caught in the quass fire.
So we play on, 3-handed. Action on Quas, on the button. He folds. Vanessa has pocket 9s in the small blind.
9s, neeners. 9-9, the Jay-Z hand.
She raises to 350,000. What is wrong with you today?
What do you mean?
Jack 9 for Dan Shack. And he calls in the big blind.
Heads up to the flop.
Vanessa first to act. King 6-6.
9 still good.
Check.
She does not continue. Checks the action to Dan.
There's not a ton of hands she could get value from. Maybe ace highs, but you may have expected Dan to 3-bet a lot of his aces.
Dan bets 400,000.
Well, Vanessa's calling at least one street.
Of course, Vanessa famously won the NAPT event at Mohegan Sun 2 years in a row. The second time, she defeated Dan Shack heads up.
Was it with 9s?
No.
Then why are you telling that story?
This is a nitty fold.
What?
Vanessa gives it up!
I want to talk about nitty folds.
Yes, let's talk about nitty folds. First nitty fold up for discussion, that nitty fold.
Dan now even with Vanessa. At least that encounter wasn't as explosive as the one on day 2.
Antonio raised. I have ace-jack, which is too strong a hand to fold, but I didn't necessarily want to 3-bet it because there were so many short stacks. Why am I going to play a huge pot with a big stack on the bubble? It doesn't make sense. So I flat called, and Dan came along as well.
When I flopped, middle pair and a flush draw, and she let out, I sort of put her on a lower flush draw. I raised it, and, I would expect her to call her flush draw. She had almost 5 million chips.
The turn was like the best turn possible because it's really hard for me to be beat on this turn. I checked, and he shoves all in for 1.2 million into a pot of about $1 million.
All in.
All in.
It's just so hard for me to be beat there that I'm just never even considering laying that hand down. I call.
It looked bad, obviously, once the cards were turned up. First of all, I was surprised she had ace-jack, and second of all, I was surprised she called with it, because I wouldn't. I gotta give her credit. She made a great read, great call. I personally would have folded ace-jack.
He just kind of had a pair and a flush draw and just decided to gamble. He put himself in a position to potentially walk away with no money. We shouldn't have been playing that big a pot at that stage of the tournament, given the situation with all these tiny stacks.
You hit it, you're the chip leader, you miss it. You went from 1.8 million chips and basically guaranteed the final table with, 3 people with 100,000 chips, so of course it was a great risk.
Whoa!
I was just a little bit frustrated, just given how absurd it was, given the situation with all those tiny stacks. If I had won that hand, I would have had almost half the chips in play going into an 8-handed final table, which would have been a dream spot to pretty much almost lock up a win.
I'm trying to win, and, I went with my read. It was not quite a right read, but I knew I had outs. Vanessa's a better player than I am, but, I still have the confidence that I can win on any given day with the right circumstances.
Plenty of history between Dan and Vanessa. They both want this wicked bad, and they're both going for it full on. Dan Shack and Vanessa Selbst, always a good show.
And of course, Dan looking to improve on his second place finish 2 years ago. He's got Jack-9 suited on the button. And he's raising to 320,000. Fabian Quas has folded the small blind. Vanessa's got ace-10 in the big blind.
I think Vanessa may opt for a just call here. Vanessa and Dan are both pretty deep, and there's no reason to bloat this out of position.
Vanessa calls. So Shack with the pre-flop betting lead and the advantage of position. Well, Vanessa pairs her 10. Dan has an open-ended straight draw. She checks.
This is a great spot for Dan to semi-bluff, and he checks.
Queen on the turn. That's a straight for Dan Shack.
See, he's going to win less chips now. That's right. They're playing for chips.
Selbst checks a second time. Here comes the delayed continuation bet from Dan Shack.
A straight-up value bet.
600,000.
Vanessa will be showing some good restraint if she can manage to just check call here. She got the check part down.
She calls the 600K, and we go to the river.
Minimal damage so far.
Oh, it's an ace. Vanessa now with aces and 10s. Probably thinks she has the best hand.
This is the worst thing to happen to a Vanessa since Journey to the Mysterious Island. What, nobody follows the career of Vanessa Hudgens?
I assume that was a rhetorical question.
No. Dan's gonna check back a queen a lot here, so I think there's a good chance she puts in the chips herself.
1.2.
Call.
She bets 1.2 million and gets snap called.
Yikes.
Two pair no good. Shack with a straight.
Dan called so fast there, it almost wasn't picked up by our microphones.
A frustrating hand for Vanessa. A huge pot for Dan Shack. Vanessa down to 3.2 million. And Dan Shack now the big chip leader with 8.15 million.
The fact that this was going for the third year in a row of the final table pretty much made the decision to play because I like life goals and I consider this a pretty good achievement. My father's been ill and I was really torn even right down to the last minute, but he wanted me to play. And I really feel like this is, though a difficult decision, the right choice.
Just goes to show you, you're never too old to win something for your dad. Unless it's a children's award, then it would probably be pretty lame. Or so my dad says.
Well, Dan Shack is playing around 50 big blinds. Both Vanessa Selbst and Fabian Quas are short, playing 20 and 16 bigs respectively, and their options are severely limited.
Not super deep here for three-handed play.
Action on Quas. He folds the button. Ace-10 for Vanessa in the small blind.
$350.
She raises to 350,000.
Said I need about 350.
Shack with ace-7.
How much you playing?
2.85 behind.
Million.
That sounds so baller.
What are you going to do if you get 4-bet, Dan? What are you going to do if you get 4-bet? Because guess what?
I'm all in.
Vanessa shoves.
You're getting 4-bet.
Call.
And Dan calls.
No one is happier to see this than Fabian Quas. Dan Shack is an absolute animal. He's more fearless than that guy from the movie Fearless. I assume I've never seen it.
Like many of Peter Weir's films, it's underappreciated.
Well, I'm sure Vanessa's appreciating this domination nation.
She's a big favorite with 2 cards to come. 3 outs for Dan Shack.
We've seen Dan bink in these situations before.
Opportunities emerge, but Vanessa just has to fade a 7 to survive. She doubles up.
Queen, king, or jack, chopped, right?
A lot of shot bets.
How much?
3.210.
Vanessa regains the chip lead. And Dan Shack drops below 5 million. Meanwhile, Fabian Quas is bringing up the rear with the Super High Roller set to conclude after the break. She's the most successful female tournament player in poker history, with 2 World Series bracelets, a couple of NAPT titles, and a high roller win here in the Bahamas last year. Now, Vanessa Selbst is the favorite to take down the PokerStars.com PCA Super High Roller. She has the chip lead with 3 players remaining.
You can't spell the best without Selbst, and an H and another E and dropping the L in one of the S's.
We're gonna sweat with Vanessa on this hand. We'll play it from her perspective. Ace-king suited on the button, she raises.
Yes, finally an actual hand during a sweat with.
Dan Shack has folded the small blind.
Cool.
Fabian Quas calls out of the big blind.
You know, Fabian looks kind of athletic. I wonder if he ever played lacrosse.
The flop is king 10-8, top pair for Vanessa.
Top pair, top kicker, show me the money. Chips, remember, we're playing for chips.
Fabian checks.
We can absolutely continue here, pretty much for pure value.
$360.
Like the sizing, obviously we want to call. We're hardly ever beat here. Come on, buddy.
Fabian calls.
Yes.
1.5 million in the middle. The turn card is an ace. 2 pair now.
Oh, hello.
Fabian checks a second time.
We can definitely bet this again. This is a great card for us because Fabian is expecting that we're going to try to rep this card, whether it improved us or not, so it's possible he continues to call light.
Roughly a third of the pot, 480,000.
Want to make sure we keep our customer.
Once again, Fabian calls. The river card. The 6 of diamonds. Can't imagine that's changed much.
Total brick. I love it.
Fabian checks for a third time.
Let's bet for a third time.
A value bet of 980,000.
Nice cheap sizing the whole way through. He might even call it a 10.
Modern.
He shoves! He check raises all in!
Maybe it wasn't a brick. This is a straight or it's nothing, and it's almost always a straight, but we are getting an insane price.
I call.
Nuts.
Vanessa calls!
Can't fold this hand.
And Fabian Quas tables a straight. He turned the nuts.
I've made a huge mistake.
Have to show?
At least Fabian's not celebrating. How angry would Vanessa be if he started doing the Quasack dance?
Well, Vanessa Selbst is now the short stack with 16 big blinds. And Fabian Quass is now chip leader with close to 6.9 million.
From leader to shorty in one hand. This is going to sound ridiculous, but I think both of them played it perfectly. Someone has to win and someone has to lose.
Vanessa will be looking for a spot to double up and get back in this game. King 9 on the button.
All in.
Here she goes, all in.
Seems reasonable.
Dan Shack folds the small blind.
Can I get a count, please?
I think this is a call.
I don't think that I'm falling.
All right.
Just
Fabian's never crushing a range, but ace-4 suited has decent equity against almost everything.
call.
It's not good for me.
While Vanessa does have live cards,
Fabian appears to be cautiously optimistic.
well, he's a 61% favorite here to eliminate Vanessa Selbst.
The short stacks ran pretty good in this tournament.
Yeah, I ran too good earlier. Like,
Let's see the 5 cards.
I don't have a good feeling.
Vanessa is stressed.
It's a low flop. Vanessa's still looking for a king or a 9.
Same outs, but now there are turns that would have her drawing dead.
The turn card is a 4. That's a pair for Quass. Some opportunities emerge. Vanessa can still win outright with a king or a 9 on the river. She has 6 outs.
Things are so tense, Maria Ho almost put her phone down.
The river card is a 3. Vanessa's out.
Again.
Sad result for Vanessa. She's going to be pretty displeased, and for no other reason than just because she is fiercely competitive. In a few days, the hundreds of thousands of dollars will help.
Brutal.
She's a wordsmith.
Well, Fabian Quass now has the big chip lead as he goes heads up against Dan Shack, with Vanessa Selbst exiting the tournament in 3rd, cashing for more than $750,000.
Sometimes you just feel like you're getting pummeled, and that was kind of, once we got a 3-handed, how it felt a little bit today. Like, you know, it was just like I felt like I just never really was in a good spot, and so it just feels like you're getting beaten down, and Fabi was definitely doing a good job of beating me down.
Fabian definitely had Vanessa in the Quass hairs.
Good luck, Fabian.
Dan Shack finds himself heads up in the PCA Super High Roller for the 2nd time in 3 years.
Good luck to you too, Dan.
Quass obviously with the huge advantage. 51 big blinds playing 18 big blinds. And we're now at the 100,000, 200,000 level. 30k ante.
If there's one thing I've learned, though, it's don't underestimate Dan Shack.
Queen 9 of diamonds for Quass. On the button, in the small blind.
The tonic hand, quinine.
He just calls. Pocket 6s for Shack.
Heads up with a pair, sure, why not?
Raise.
He makes it 700,000 total.
And this would be a pretty normal call to make with Queen 9 suited. Even offsuit, probably.
Quass calls in position. Here comes the flop.
Oh, look at all those cues.
Top pair for Quass.
Looks like Shack is going to bet. Can you blame him? Only one overcard out there for his 6s.
He was the pre-flop aggressor. And he continues for 800,000.
Great spot for Fabian to just flat. He's got position, so the turn can't get checked back unless he wants it to.
I'm all in.
He shoves.
Ah, Shack's hand not nearly good enough to call. Fabian played this one very fast.
It's gonna cost Dan Shack everything he's got.
Either that's Liv Barry on the rail with the German high rollers or one convincing Quass dresser.
Well, the only shot is you got a flush draw and 2 overs.
Even then, you're probably a slight dog.
Shack gives it up. And Fabian Quass now has a ridiculous chip lead.
I think a lot of folks in Dan's spot would have figured they put in too many chips to fold, but he did get away from the worst hand and has chips left to play with.
He has just over 13 big blinds left. Quass with 8-6.
Certainly a playable hand, heads up.
He elects to call. Jack 10 for Dan Shak. And he checks his option.
Dan, the slight favorite, headed to this flop.
Shaq still ahead with a pair of 10s.
Good flop for Shaq.
He checks.
Decent time for Fabian to bet. He hasn't got much, but he can semi-bluff his gut shot.
200,000. Shaq calls. The turn card is a 9. It gives Fabian a straight. It gives Dan Shaq a straight draw.
Oh boy, that turn should bring more action than Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Shaq checks a second time.
Super good spot for Fabian. He knows in this turn Dan's unlikely to be able to fold anything he called the flop with, and his hand's more disguised than Gene Parmesan.
425,000.
Very easy just call spot here for Dan.
I'm all in.
Players all in.
Call.
He shoves and gets snap called by Kwas.
A shining example of Kwas in effect. Dan Shaq is drawing pretty thin here.
He needs a king or an 8.
No chance of a chop.
Or we have a champion in the PCA Super High Roller.
Fabian is about to win enough money to finally get that unsightly goiter removed.
The other German high rollers are feeling it.
And the low rollers too. On your feet, Germany.
The river card is an ace! Fabian Kwas has won it! And I can't believe he's been wearing shorts all this time! More than $1.6 million!
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Fabian, taking down the super high roller like a Kwas.
You love the PCA, huh?
Thanks.
Always crushing you.
Dan
Thank you.
Shaq, the runner-up again.
Cazzo, 2014.
But Fabian Kwas is the man of the moment, winning his first major title. Both players cash for more than $1 million. Vanessa Selbst walks away with more than 760K for third. So back-to-back wins for Germany in super high roller events on the tour.
Fabian, you seem like a little bit, I don't know, like you might pass out or something.
A little shaken up. I was pretty tired for the last 2 or 3 hours. Was a tough grind. It always is when you go deep in those tournaments because the competition is just so tough and you cannot miss a hand and you have to stay focused all the time. And obviously I'm pretty happy that I won now and yeah, got that monkey off my back now.
Let's get a big round of applause for PCA 2014 Super High Roller Champion.
So an incredible climax to a tournament that had it all. Body blows, crazy plays, and another German stealing the show. Fabian Kwas took 2 out on the bubble, followed by a double demolition at the start of the final table. He then upstaged a stellar cast to be crowned the 2014 PCA Super High Roller Champion. Join us next time from the Bahamas when the PCA main event takes center stage.